Hi everybody, here is Fabio, and today we're gonna take a look at the state of the Holy Priest in Battle for Azeroth Alpha. Yes, we're talking about the Holy Priest. The Holy Priest has always been this healing beast, this most fruity healer than anybody else. The problem with the Holy Priest has always been the utilities, because as you know, as I always stress this point, it's crucial in a mythic progression for a healer composition to have all the tools that they need in order to cheese some mechanic or to get through some critical phases of the encounter. So you know that the Holy Priest underwent a special rework in Legion with the whole serendipity thing, where you had the Holy Word Serenity and the Holy Word Sanctify, with a cooldown that was decreased by a single target spell or AoE spell. This mechanic has been loved by the player because it's fun. I think it's always fun when you have different spells that interact with each other, and these synergies that you can find in your healing style in order to maximize your throughput, taking advantage of those synergies are always fun. So wherever there are in different healing specs, I always love them, and I see that most of the healers do love these kind of things. And so the core mechanic of the Holy Priest didn't change much. Actually, there are very few changes, but there are a couple of changes that are important, and I'm gonna focus on those for you guys, and then we will see a recap on the state of the Holy Priest toward the end. So let's start. The first important change, in my opinion, is regarding Renew, because if you look at Holy Word Sanctify, now you can read that the cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds when you cast Prayer of Healing, and by 2 seconds when you cast Renew. Yeah, the new thing is obviously the cooldown reduction when you cast Renew. This is very important, because as you know, Renew is not that powerful, but it is an instant. So being an instant is obviously the spell that you're casting when you have to move. When you're on the move, it's your filler spell in order to keep casting something and just not being idle. So this change to Holy Word Sanctify actually is empowering of Renew. It's not empowering only, through this change to Holy Word Sanctify, casting Renew is less bad, let's say, because as I was saying before, Renew is nothing like the rejuvenation of the druids, is way less powerful. But this synergy indirectly empowers a little bit Renew. So in conclusion, the Holy Priest with this change gains a little bit of throughput when there is movement required. So the healing of the move of the Holy Priest increases a little bit. I'm saying that because Holy Priest has been the less mobile of all. Mobile not only in terms of mobility, because they've always had Angelic Feather, which is quite nice for mobility, but in terms of healing on the move, it has been the worst of all in Legion, of all of the healers. It seems that it's gonna stay the same, because it's not a great increase of throughput in Renew so far, this change, but it is impactful. So it is a little bit of increase in the throughput on healing of the move of the Holy Priest. The other very important change is another spell that becomes baseline, which is Symbol of Hope. Symbol of Hope now is a 5 minutes cooldown, and it needs to be channeled, so if you move you will interrupt it. Bolster the morale of all healers in your party or raid within 40 yards, restoring 2% of their missing mana every 1 second for 6 seconds. So basically it's a 12% mana gain if you can channel it all for all of the healers in your party. And now it's baseline. It was slightly different, and it was a talent previously. It was different because it allowed free mana casting for 12 seconds, which is quite different than what we have now. But the problem was that it was competing with Light of an Arrow, and Light of an Arrow is it's crazy powerful because it reduces the cooldown of, well, let's read it. Serendipity reduces the remaining cooldown on appropriate holy word by an additional 2 seconds. So this is very, very important, because Light of an Arrow will let you cast more frequently your holy words that are your big spells. Holy word Sanctify, Serenity, if you don't know it, it's your big single target spell, 500% of spell power. Holy word Serenity, single target, and Holy word Sanctify, 150%, but up to 6 allies. So are your big spells with a big cooldown of 1 minute, but it gets reduced. And Lights of an Arrow speeds up the reduction of cooldown, so it's crazy important. And having Light of an Arrow competing with Symbol of Hope didn't let the Holy Priest take Symbol of Hope in most of the fights, let's say. Now it is baseline, and it is quite important. This means that if you're bringing a Holy Priest in your raid in Battle for Azeroth, you also have this tool. It's also well designed, I think, because it lets you restore mana. It's similar to a channeled mana potion, but not only for you, but for all of the healers in your raid. So the good thing is that you can channel it when there is a low damage phase. So this is very, very good. It's a new tool added to the Holy Priest because it's baseline. So thumbs up, because the Holy Priest needs stuff like that in order to be more viable, more important to be brought in your raid, in your healer composition, in a mythic progression. But let's take a look at the talents. As I was saying, here on the left you have the the Legion version of the talent panel, and on the right you have the BFA version of the talent panels. Not a lot of changes, as you can see. You have Light of an Arrow now that is competing with Guardian Angel. When Guardian Angel expires without saving the targets from death, it reduces its remaining cooldown by 90 seconds, and Afterlife obviously it becomes even less important because we no longer have the cloak, the cape. So unfortunately this is very bad. I actually wish that in Battle for Azeroth we have something to bring back to the Holy Priest, the Freeze Resurrection as baseline, because it's such a niche ability. It's very strong, it is powerful, but I don't think it's overpowerful. Holy Priest was not necessarily be mandatory in raid in Legion by any mean, and they had the cape, so it was just a good healer. I don't think that it will break the spec and make it too powerful to have visibility baseline, because it's so niche, and it's part of the fantasy of the Holy Priest to be able to resurrect. I like it a lot. But anyway, let's stop dreaming for a moment. So Afterlife will be way less attractive, and you're gonna end up taking Light of an Arrow 100% in raid and 100% in mythic class, as it has been in Legion. So no change there. Shining Force here, this is all crowd control, so not a lot to say here. Now row 75 we have a change, because we no longer have Piety, but we have Circle of Healing that has been moved from row 100 to row 75. Now it is competing with Binding Heal and Surge of Light. Circle of Healing was basically never taken in Legion because it was competing with Benediction and Apotheosis that were both better than Circle of Healing. Now it has a more fair competition, but the problem with the Circle of Healing is that it doesn't have nothing to do with the whole synergy thing that we were talking about before, while Binding Heal, yes it does. Let's read it for a second. Heals you, your target, and another friendly target within 20 yards for 75 of spell powers. reduces the remaining cooldown of both Holy Word Serenity and Holy Word Sanctify by 3 seconds. So it's basically a 6 seconds cooldown reduction, and it heals 3 friendly targets. I don't know, it is possible that Circle of Healing will fairly compete. So it is possible that Circle of Healing might be taken if the math will tell us that it's that powerful, but the problem is that, as I was saying, Binding Heal has this synergy, and most likely it's gonna scale better than what Circle of Healing could do. So even if at the start of the expansion we might want to take Circle of Healing, at a certain point it is very likely that the better scaling of Binding Heal will guide us toward taking Binding Heal. Now, let's see, row 90 we have Benediction, that previously was on row 100. Benediction is now competing with Divine Star and Halo. The problem is that Divine Star and Halo were way low impact in Legion. They were very low power level. So competing with Benediction now, I don't think that there's gonna be a situation where you don't take Benediction, unfortunately. And Benediction, it's good, but it's not that fun of a talent. Let's read it. Your Prayer of Mending has a 30% chance to leave a renew on each target it heals. And especially, I mean, if we look at row 100 and we see what the new talent does. So let's get into it, because it's very fun. It's probably the most fun change that we see in the Alpha for the Holy Priest. This talent is called Holy Word Salvation, and I already like the name. Heals all allies within 40 yards for 150% of spell power, which is quite powerful, and applies Renew and 2 stacks of Prayer of Mending to each of them. So this is a lot. So as you can see, heals for 150% of spell power. So it's basically for Holy Word Salvation to cast a heal spell on each and every player in your raid, and casting Renew and 2 stacks of Prayer of Mending on each one of them. So it's crazy power. It's a burst, and it's not only a burst, but it leaves all of these Renews and all of these Prayer of Mending that will heal everybody for longer than just the instant heal. It's 12 minutes cooldown, but it gets reduced. The cooldown reduced by 30 seconds when you cast Holy Word Serenity or Holy Word Sanctify. So again, it's very nice because it's tied with the core mechanic, with the core interaction of the Holy Priest. So after some testing, it is quite likely that you will be able to cast this spell every 4 minutes. This is what the tester tells us. In real raid environment, more or less, the 4 minutes is the thing that you can aim for. The problem is, as you can already see, that is quite an odd cooldown. You never know when exactly you will be able to have it up again. So it's gonna be quite hard for a raid leader to plan accordingly. I mean, probably the only way to do that is to take some margin and to plan for this to be casted with 4.5 minutes distance between 2 casts. So it gets to the point that you might risk to cast it only once in a fight. This is the only drawback of this talent, but it is a crazy burst of healing, and the Holy Priest didn't have nothing like that before. And it's a quite powerful tool that could make a difference in the strategy of going into a fight in a mythic progression. So, I mean, I love it. I love this tool that the Holy Priest has. I love the synergy that it has with the whole Holy Word thing. And this is why I was saying that most likely we will end up taking Binding Heal over Circle of Healing. In any case, Very good. Let's see what we have on the 100 row. A talent called Cosmic Ripple. Now it became a talent, and let's read it. When Holy Word Serenity or Holy Word Sanctify finish their cooldown, you emit a burst of light that heals up to 5 injured target for 30% of spell power. So when this could be good? Basically only when you have consistent damage throughout the fight, because you never know when you're gonna trigger these heals, because you never know when your holy words come back up of the cooldown. So this is the problem. You cannot really plan for this heal, it just happened. And so when it happens, you have to count on the fact that there are actually injured allies, that there are injured players, and it doesn't go into overheal. And in order to take this, that you're passing on Apotheosis and you're passing on Holy War Salvation. So the fight needs to have consistent damage, and it doesn't need to have big spikes of damage. So let's think into an example that where this might be good. Varimatras in Antorus. This is talent that you might take in Varimatras actually. Yeah, why not? And we have Apotheosis. So the row 100 is very interesting actually. Cosmic Ripple, I think that is the talent that we will take less between the three. Holy Word Salvation is very, very interesting, especially if we can get to a cooldown of 3 minutes and a half. It will really become very, very interesting, because you can count on the fact on being able to cast it twice in a fight. And it's a crazy burst of healing, and as I said, is a new tool in the hands of a Holy Priest. And Apotheosis is this strange 30 seconds cooldown, is very long, where you can heal and at a very high throughput. So now let's take a look at what could be the talent setup for Mythic Plus. Unfortunately, we don't have much new here going on for Mythic Plus setup, because it's always gonna be a Trail of Light, Angelic. This is the standard build. Obviously, you can choose different things depending on the affixes, depending on the wiki, etc. But probably this is the way that it's gonna shape up. With Benediction, the only difference, because we are losing Divinity, which Divinity in Mythic Plus was actually better than Benediction, but we are losing Divinity, and Apotheosis. So the only difference between the Legion version and the BFA for Mythic Plus is Benediction instead of Divinity. Not a lot of there, and we are not gaining anything on survivability. The only survivability talent is Perseverance, and it's the same that it is on live, and most of the time you end up taking Angelic Feather anyway. We still have the Desperate Prayer is slightly different, but not much. Increases maximum health by 25% for 10 seconds and instantly heals you for that amount. So the Holy Priest, the problem with the Holy Priest in Mythic Plus is that it's very light on survivability. And survivability is crucial in Mythic Plus, is probably the most important factor in Mythic Plus. Really, Holy Priest should get some tools to be more viable in Mythic Plus. But really, guys, I'm talking about very high Mythic Pluses here. The Holy Priest will be totally fine to do any Mythic Plus you need to do for your Mythic cache for with these, I mean, with no problem. So I'm really against saying that you have to be a Holy Paladin in order to complete a high level Mythic Plus. No, that's not the case, absolutely. So I mean, I'm talking about if you're thinking about competing with your Holy Priest in Mythic Pluses here. So, okay, having said that, let's see the talent choices for your Mythic Raid progression. And it's gonna be Enlightenment, as it is in Legion, Angelic Feather, Leather Arrow. You see how little differences we have here. Now here I'm picking Binding Heal, as I explained before, Benediction, and here is gonna depend on the fight, as I said, but I'm taking here Olive Ward Salvation because I like it that much, and I think that there are gonna be several mythic progression fights where that burst of heal is gonna make the difference in your healing strategy. In conclusion, what do I think of the Holy Priest? Well, in general, not that bad. Not that bad because we are getting a couple of important tools. Now I'm talking about here mythic progression. The tools that I'm talking about are obviously the Symbol of Hope being baseline. So if you're bringing a Holy Priest in your raid, you have all of your healers with additional mana. Not bad, not bad. The other thing that I also very much like is regarding Holy Ward Sanctify, where that is now with the 2 seconds reduction on the cooldown caused by Renew. So it's a slight increase on the capability of healing on the move of the Holy Priest, even if it is gonna stay most likely the less mobile of the whole of the healers. And I very much love this tool, Holy Word Salvation, that with that burst of heal that could make or break in some strategy for some fight in mythic progression. So I think that you will not feel bad bringing a Holy Priest in your mythic composition. It's not gonna be mandatory by any means, unfortunately. But the thing is that, talking about the Holy Priest, I cannot not mention the Disc Priest. If you're thinking about mythic progression, even if you're main Holy Priest, I do recommend you study and exercising the Discipline Priest spec, because it's gonna be for sure the case that some fight will favor the Holy Priest and some other fight will favor the Discipline Priest. And as you know, Discipline Priest has a lot of very powerful tools in Battle for Azeroth, even more tools than what he had in Legion. So if you're capable to play well both spec, you're gonna be, I mean, extremely viable, extremely important for your raid leader, because he knows that if you're in the raid, you can be holy or you can be disc, and that might make a big difference in the strategy going into the fight, because you can bring barrier if you're disc, you can bring Holy Word Salvation if you need this burst, or Symbol of Hope. You know, depending on the fight, you can really change and have a huge arsenal on your disposal. If we are looking only to the Holy Priest section, well, yes, Holy Priest probably is not gonna be a top pick, even if it's very good. But if you combine the fact that you can play at a high level both spec, I mean, that's amazing, and no other character has this huge variety, obviously, because here we're talking about 2 specs together. And well, I'm leveling a priest myself because unfortunately my guild just disbanded, so I had to look for a new guild, and I had to change server. So I moved my Rasta Shaman, but I didn't want to server transfer also my priest, so I decided to level my 3rd priest. I have now 1 priest in 3 different servers, but never mind. So I went for the Lightforged Draenei, because as you know, in the new in the new allied race, we don't have a racial that straight up empowers your healing potential, and healing is all I do. So I thought about the damage ability of Lightforged Draenei and how powerful it is with Atonement, and it is quite powerful. So I do recommend you go try it out, make a level 20 Discipline Priest Lightforged Draenei and see the power. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys. If you want to check out the other guys for the other healers in the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, you can go and subscribe to my channel and check out all the other guides. Obviously, the ranking that I've made, it's 2 weeks old, the best healer composition ranked. So I'm gonna make a new ranking in a couple of days. Stay tuned for that also. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Ciao!